Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on RenegadePopCulture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about both indie animation and finally discussing the summer 2025 anime season right before the fall 2025 anime season begins. Life happens, okay, y'all? And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And, of course, we've got Bree.
Hey.
And, yeah, this is going to be kind of a different podcast because life happened. We had to get to the summer anime season a little bit later, and we will cover our thoughts in the latter half of this podcast. But first, some interesting things have been happening in the indie animation scene, to say the least. We'll get the worst pilot out of the way first. I apologize to Homestuck fans, but yeah.
Yeah, that was very much a pilot. It felt very online, and I'm so sorry I made you watch it.
It just feels like it was shadow dropped out of nowhere. Or like, I forgot when they were going to drop it. Because I remember the announcement trailer for it looked like it was work in progress. And it's like, oh, cool. And then you watch the actual pilot, and it's like, oh. So it's like a stylistic choice that it looks very basic. That's okay, that's cool. And then you watch it, and this would have been really cool 10 years ago.
And as I said off air, if this dropped in 2015, it would have hit the streets like crack.
I mean, like, I know Homestuck has a huge fan base. There's so much lore. There's like 8,000 pages of the webcomic to go through. And I understand what they're doing, what they're setting up, the areas of conflict of interest for some of our leads. Like, and those parts were very cool, but I'm sorry. That main lead's voice was grating. And I think it became grating because of how nasally it sounded. And then the dialogue. And I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy.
I don't think they were like ever going to consider updating the dialogue because I don't know, maybe internet lead speak is absurdly more cursed now than it is back then. But
Probably.
I just didn't find myself laughing a whole lot at any of the jokes. The animation was fine, but the way that the characters talk was so
overwritten.
Yeah, and I understand that they want to get as much of the setup as possible within the first episode and just be like, hey, hope everything goes well.
If I could just interject for a second, just like the irony of it all, of like the setup. And oddly enough, this kind of ties to like Knights of Guinevere, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But this, I feel like, is the more extreme version of it. And to kind of go back to something that you've said multiple times, Cameron, one thing with indie animation is that a lot of these pilots are just not well written or like really not set up at all. I mean, I will be fair. This technically had a plot, like there was a lot of confusion in between, but you could see something there. It's like, okay, like what was the deal of this? Unless you're a fan of Homestuck, I just don't think this really works as a pilot because it's not really setting me up, as a non-fan that I should invest any more time into this.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head as someone who has largely been on the outside of the Homestuck fan base. I basically had no idea what was happening watching this. Like, I could kind of get the gist based off context clues, but This honestly feels just completely inaccessible to someone who isn't already a fan.
Yeah, I think that's the right word, is inaccessible.
Because all the comments I saw under the video were pretty much everyone going, wow, what is this all about? I bet I'll find out in this pilot. Watches the pilot. Wow, I wonder what all of this was about. Like, everyone was confused, and then even like so many of the comments, like basically every single popular comment was, hey everyone, welcome to Homestuck. Were you confused? Congrats, we still are. And yeah, it's like, it didn't really feel accessible. Anime feels like it has no problem making something accessible. You know, deep down within at least the first 3 episodes if this is going to be your jam or not. Here, I don't know if I really want to watch the next episode. And 2 things I want to say. 1, just because this is going to probably give Vivian a lot of shit in a harassment from people who didn't like the pilot. She didn't create it. She was a producer for it. So
not
for
just
the
a
love
producer,
of God,
like an executive producer, which basically means that it's my studio, but I wasn't really involved.
Basically, it's like, I don't want another freaking goddamn thing like him happening where everyone is shitting on Jordan Peele for no reason because they think he made the movie, but no, he was the producer of it. And yes, I understand. Executive produced Jordan Peele movies don't always tend to turn out well, except for Monkey Man. That was an amazing movie. But do not put all of the blame of the movie on him, and do not put all of or any of the blame on Vivian. It just uploaded onto her YouTube channel because, of course, she would have all the fans and viewers that this thing could get. Second, I'm not going to say. I mean, it's going to sound like weird to say that I think this pilot failed, but I think Homestuck's pilot kind of flopped, and I don't know how. Like, of course, from an outside looking in, it's like, 1 million views. That doesn't sound like a failure to me. Until you compare it to the other Hell of a Boss stuff and the fact that, for a webcomic to have such a dedicated fandom to it, nobody showed up.
I was going to say, like, who even is a fan of Homestuck in 2025?
Yeah, 1 million views ain't bad, but if you want to continue this series and you're going to have to condense everything or take things out or find some ways to make it work as a series, you're not going to last long if the view count cannot get past 1 million. I mean, we'll talk about this with the Knights of Guinevere thing. Like, for all the hype and buildup for these 2 pilots, they kind of tapped out at a lower number than I was expecting, all things considered. It's like if the most popular manga in the world got an anime adaptation and then nobody bought the Blu-ray for it. It's weird. And if indie animation wants to survive, you really can't do everything off of a 1 million view video every few months or however long it's going to take to make these episodes. And I'm sorry, I don't think having Toby Fox was going to be the big, huge thing to get the series over the hump that I think a lot of people were thinking. And listen, I love Toby Fox's music and, of course, his Undertale work and such, but that's an entirely different fandom. It's like the voice acting was fine elsewhere. The music was just kind of okay.
Overall, it just, it felt fine, but it's like, okay, sure, I guess. I don't think this is for me, dog.
Yeah, that's honestly how I felt. Good for you, anyone who did enjoy it, if you did. Just not for me.
And this was released around the same time as the Knights of Guinevere pilot and the most recent episode of Monkey Wrench. Since I'm the only one as of right now of the podcast who have watched it, man, is that show getting good. It is now building up everything that was built up from the last 4 or so episodes. And we are now diving headfirst into like the first major story arc of this show. And on top of really good action and characters, the villains are threatening and imposing. The world is expanded upon in a very creative and well-handled way. It's just good, and y'all should keep supporting it. I know, put in a quarter in the jar for every time Monkey Wrench is said here on this podcast. And listen, I might not have liked the Homestuck pilot, but if they improve, okay, I'll give it another chance. But this was not a good first impression, and I think this is the problem with indie animation when it's like everyone wants to do it, but there's a huge difference with how you're supposed to write a script, animate a pilot, tell a story, and make sure that enough people show up for or want to support or and show up for the next episode.
And I think that's where we need to have a conversation about, I know it's semantics, but pilots exist for a reason. It isn't just episode 1, like
right,
most of these writers think it is. I know,
and that, honestly, having took a pilot class and having someone gracefully and kindly, kind of pull me aside and, like, kind of explain how shit actually works, like, now knowing what I know now, like, every time I see, like, a quote-unquote pilot, I honestly have, like, a little bit of apprehensiveness, because I'm like, is this actually going to be a pilot, or is this just going to be, like, a soft episode 1 launch? Because it's frustrating, because here's, like, to me, and you can agree or disagree with me on this, but I think this is just in my professional opinion. I think what makes a good pilot is A, obviously you're selling me on the idea, but B, it can be a self-contained story that stands alone on its own. And so many times these pilots just, they can't stand on their own. It's like, oh, hey, if we do more crowdfunding, we can get another episode. And I'm like, well, that's like a traditional pilot in a studio. Like, that's not how you pitch it. It's like, okay, like, this is like the whole world in a nutshell. I mean, for my pilot, I kind of like did it like, oh, it could go on, but I tried to make it like one self-contained story.
I mean, that's what I love about the Megas XLR pilot. It's half the length of the episode, like of the actual episode 1, where part of the pilot got repurposed into it. But it was 2 guys in Jersey, found a giant robot, put a hot rod car on top of it, and then realized, oh, this came from the future, and a bunch of aliens that want to kill us want it back. And
yep, that's like a solid pilot. Like, that's the self-contained story. Like, we have one solid, like, destination of, like, where we want to go. I'll kind of talk a little bit more about it when we get to Knights of Guinevere, but kind of feel like it doesn't really work as a pilot.
No, it doesn't. So, with Knights of Guinevere, we finally get our, like, dystopian sci-fi body horror takedown, but also loving homage to the idea of what Disney used to represent, like the artificial philosophy of what Walt Disney set out to do. And of course, it's like, well, technically it's not Disney. It's like, it's Disney. It's about these 2 young adults who are struggling through this dystopian sci-fi, who basically pull a battle angel Alita by finding a robot body, like a thrown away robot body of the Princess Guinevere, who was this robot android mascot thing for a huge company that whose president was voiced by Sung-Wan Cho, doing, all the best voice work for this episode. But everyone was actually really good in it. Basically finding out the mystery of where this body came from, why was it ditched, is it actually as broken as it looks, and having to deal with the tough like alien universe style dystopian future that these people live in. Like, it reminded me of a lot of how Alien Romulus opened, where these people are just living on a just
Yeah.
horrible wasteland of a planet, and there's just no work. And what work is there is shady as hell. And then if you escape or leave outside of those parameters, there's a killer robot on the outskirts with ProZD's voice. And I liked the characters. I liked a lot of the setup. The designs were great. You can tell these were the same. This is the same team behind the Owl House, especially with the eyes and how they look. The characters were very likable, very spunky, very different from what we are doing with other pilots these days. Like, I'm sorry, I understand why people want to follow the Vizzy Pop style of characterization with their pilots because it's popular. You stand on your own more when you step away from trying to copy someone else. I mean, that's what happened with the creator of Dandadan. He was trying so hard for so long to make something to fit a certain criteria and crowd. Basically, he was focus testing so many pilots, thinking, well, this will do well because this is popular. Until, if I remember correctly, it was the Spy X Family and Chainsaw Man editor came up to him and said, listen, you have really good talent, you have a lot of potential, make something without even thinking about it. And that's what a lot of people don't do when they're making indie pilots and such. They want to follow trends, and that's not
or something that they really like, or like an homage to, which, is fine. It's all well and good because everything's derivative at some point. But
I mean, like, yes, Knights of Guinevere has an interesting mystery to it with what's actually going on in the world above them and such. Like I said, this is very Battle Angel Alita in some regards. And I did overall enjoy it. But yeah, but there was always something kind of off about it. And it's not because, wow, the viewership for this thing is not through the roof as much as I thought it was going to be. It's like, I like the idea of the mystery. I am intrigued. I want to see the next episode. But I feel like this would have been better as a closed off story instead of setting up for, like, well, we got more mystery and such.
Or at the very least, as Bree, I think you pointed this out, this would have been great if it was like part 1 of 2, but because of how it usually works with indie animation, we're kind of getting drip fed the story when, yeah, I think this would have been better with a more definitive ending, like a post-credit scene almost for what's to come.
Right. And like my other thing too is I really like this pilot. I will just go say, like, to me it is a solid 8 out of 10. Whatever complaints I have, like, that's still my view, like, overall. I think it's a big step forward for the genre. However, that being said, I again, like, because of how it's paced, I felt the pacing was like so much of it was like set up that really our main story to where things actually start to get moving doesn't really start until like almost 8 minutes in, which, and we're like almost like near act 2, or at least where I would kind of figure like act 2 is, because it's the conflict is like, oh, that they find like Gwen, but it's like so much of it is just set up and it's like introducing the characters, but I'm not quite sure if it goes really anywhere. It's more like, oh, more setup. And then like my other concern is that I'm worried that they've already kind of showed their hand a little bit. Because I'm not sure if they should have put that prologue scene in. Because I feel like they kind of gave too much away. And I don't really like to make predictions, but I really hope and because that they don't do this, because to me this would be like the least interesting route that they could possibly go. they keep alluding to, like, let go of the past and stuff, and we conveniently don't see the mom's face. I really hope that Guinevere isn't based on the mom, or it's, like, the mom's subconscious, because to me, then we're just doing, like, a redux of, like, the whole Hunter storyline. Like, I really hope that is not the route they go down, because to me, I would be really disappointed.
That sounds like what happens with the Interstellar 555 plot, where a kid gets on a train that travels through the galaxy, is traveling alongside a mysterious older woman, and meets a bunch of different characters that help expand the universe, like Captain Harlock and such. And then the big twist is, oh yeah, the main villain has the kid's mom's body mounted on his wall like a game like thing. And then it's like, oh, the older woman that the kid was traveling with this whole time? Oh, yeah, I was your mom brought back as a robot. And it's like, those movie adaptations were like condensing like 100 plus episodes into like 90 minutes. And it's like, no. It's like, don't do that shit. And it's a shame because like this is a very cool world. It's like I laughed at some of the jokes. I like the voice cast. I think a lot of people, especially some animation content creator YouTubers who talk about animation, paint this as a big fuck you middle finger to Disney because of how Disney screwed over Dana and Owl House. And yes, I'm sure some of that is fueled by the fact that Dana was extremely pissed off at how Disney handled things, because Disney, at the time when the first season was out and the second season was in mid-production, was like, too much gay. We can't let you finish this show the way you want. So you can just make a couple specials and then that's it. And it's like, oh, Disney. Like, the biggest show that they've had in years gets killed off because studio higher-ups don't know what they're doing anymore.
Well, then DTVA's been like a rotating door for years.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, that's the thing. I understand why some people on very surface-level reads that are saying this is like a big middle finger to Disney. But this show in the world loves the history and the
Disney
idea.
And the arts. Like, if you love Mary Blair and if you love like the old school Disneyland vibes of like, because here's the thing of like Disneyland, the theme parks, they are a modern work of art. Like, I don't care what you say, they are like masterpieces of architecture, art. Like, there's like so many reasons why people want to emulate Disney. And because that's, to me, like, it was such a love letter to Disney. Even, like, the not-so-sexy parts of Disney.
Yeah, exactly. Because, yeah, now Disneyland and Disney World, even though I know a lot of people still love going there and find it fun, it is a little more corporate. It's, like, it's kind of weird to think about the magic of Disneyland and such when, oh, there's a Marvel section, there's a Star Wars section now that there's going to be an Avatar section. And I get it, but like, you can't make something that's Disney adjacent if you only hate it. You have to love it. Even when Disney was able to take a joke at its own expense, when they made stuff like what's it called? The Amy Adams live action Disney.
Enchanted.
Yeah, that is such a love letter to Disney eras of all eras. And you can't say that if someone at Disney was just being like, well, I'm going to show them, God damn it, and such. It's very easy to see like, for example, you can tell when the Zucker brothers and Abrams loved what they were parodying. You can tell when Mel Brooks loved making fun of Westerns and making fun of Frankenstein. You cannot find the love and support for a lot of those latter early 2000s to 2010s spoof movies that are just so
garbage.
Like, nobody likes those. And
No.
I know there's a lot of love and heart, like, cherishment for the first 3 scary movies and such, but even then, it's like those aren't perfect homages or tributes to whatever they were making fun of. They're better than what came after it, mind you, but those other movies don't love the stuff that they're making fun of. Like, Spy Hard does not love spy movies. It's making fun of whatever movies were out at that time and then putting Leslie Nielsen in it, and that was it. You could tell in an interview they were like, oh yeah, jokes were secondary, being misogynistic and shitty were priority. And it's like, wow, no wonder why people didn't like you guys.
Yeah, that's no good.
You can't truly make a parody or a spoof without loving and hating it at the same time. So,
but, like, not even doing a spoof if you're just, like, writing something in the genre. Because, like, when I, like, write stuff, like, I try to do research about the thing I'm talking about. I'm like, on the subject of Disney, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do, like, the Disney research trip thing on a budget. I can make it work.
Exactly. Like, you can do it without being a total wanker about it. And, well, man, I will say this before we jump into the discourse that happened. I was shocked about how much hype was built up for Night to Guinevere. And I think in hindsight, I understand why it didn't do digital circus numbers. But I am a little shocked that with all the love and support that the Owl House got, you all did not show up for it as hard as I was expecting so many people would.
That's the thing that kind of surprised me. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the pilot when it premiered.
Oh, I did.
If you were just judging the popularity of this based on how fast the live chat was moving, you'd think this would get like 8 million views in like the first hour. But I am a little surprised that the numbers are considerably lower than...
Like,
is it bad? Like, I wasn't surprised.
No, I think in hindsight, there's a lot of things that cut people out of this pilot, like being excited for it. One, it's a way more mature pilot. It's not really child-friendly at all, especially with all the stuff that happens in the opening, and then with all the guts and violence. It is setting up an entirely different tone than what Dana was doing in the past. But then, and it's going to sound really condescending, I think people wanted just more Owl House. They didn't really want this new thing. They wanted more Owl House. And since it wasn't going to be more Owl House, like, I'm sorry. I am okay with Dana never going back to Owl House unless she finds some ways.
Has a burning desire to do so.
To do it. It's like the Venture Brothers duo. They spent so much time crafting the Venture Brothers. Every arc, every character, every joke. And then getting canceled only to then get like, okay, you can do a 90-minute movie. Okay, let's do it. And then just closing it off after that? Yeah. I wouldn't want to work on more of that either. I would want to move on to something else.
I know it's like interesting. This happened like a while ago. It was on Blue Sky, and like Dana, I was responding to a comment by Dana. I don't know. It might have been about True Detective. It was like really like non sequitur, but I went like this whole thing saying like, yeah, like I wouldn't want to just peak after be known for like this one thing and be like, well, that's it. I've peaked. I'm not going to make any more art. And then she said something along the lines of like, yeah, like I don't want to peak it as an artist before I hit 35. Which is very brutal, and totally valid and honest.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's like you don't want to be a one-hit wonder where you make one thing and then everything else doesn't really stack up to it, which is something that a lot of anime creators have had to deal with. like, not everyone can be the guy behind Chainsaw Man or an Akira Toriyama and such. Most people are basically like the duo behind Death Note. They got one good idea in them, and then everything else either is terrible or has some interesting ideas behind it, but then peters out by the end of it all.
Case in point, like, what was it? Samurai 8, the follow-up to Naruto? That, like, crashed and burned.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's like that's what the guy is going to be known for is Naruto, Naruto, Naruto. And then Burrito. No, wait, Boruto. No.
Dorito. Ayo. But, like, the whole thing is, like, if you figure, like, I feel like people forget how young Dana is.
Yeah,
like,
she's basically our age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why would I, the one thing I worked on in, like, my 20s, and that just be the entirety of my art career? That is, like, such a ridiculous train of thought. Like, I get that the Owl House was your comfort show. I respect that. I'm sorry that you did not get more seasons of it. I really am. But people need to let go.
This honestly kind of echoes the Snyder cult in that.
Oh my god, it really does.
And I don't really know how well Rebel Moon did, like, ratings-wise on Netflix, but the Snyder cult only care about more DC movies set in that universe. They don't really even care about what Snyder is doing outside of comic book movies.
It's like that Twilight of the Gods show was actually pretty solid, but
yes, no, Zack Snyder is like a good creative vision. Like, if anything, like, you definitely know when it's a Zack Snyder production. Like, he has a very distinctive style. I just don't think personally he worked well for DC. But then there is also a lot of extenuating factors, like, I don't think he should have had to bear the full responsibility of setting up a cinematic universe without any proper prep.
No, yeah. Especially since that was when DC was like, listen, we are like 5 years behind. Can you make one Iron Man, one Hulk, one Thor, and then get us to Justice League? And it's like, that's an asinine thing to ask for someone to do. That's so much work, so much layout.
Not only that, but the despicable shit with, like, his daughter, and then, like, going around and, like, hiring his Joss Whedon. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, Whedon made the Avengers work, so it's just like, I don't really have much to say about the dystopian sci-fi horror thing that Knights of Guinevere is. I think it's very solid. I want to see more. I am hooked. I am down. Maybe not as much as for the Gaslight District, which is an interesting comparison because this is Knights of Guinevere was, I think, announced before Gaslight District.
I think they might have been announced like the same time. I remember it being very close.
Yeah. very, very close at the very least. And the response to the Gaslight District was so overwhelmingly positive, even though it does also fall into the same kind of problems with the pilot situation that Indie Animation is doing, where it's not really a self-contained pilot, but a setup for everything that is going to happen going forward. Because it is very arrogant that a lot of pilots like that are getting made are going to be instant shows and series and such. Like, say what you will about Monkey Wrench, at the very least, the first 3 episodes were all fairly self-contained stories. So, if there was not going to be another episode, then so be it. 3 really solid sci-fi adventures, with one showing the deeper character mythos that they were building up that then went into episode 4 and 5.
Or even, like, the OG Hell of a Boss pilot. Like, honestly, like, for all my issues of Hell of a Boss, and I know they revamped the pilot, I still think that original is, like, a really solid pilot because it sells you on the idea of the show.
Yeah, it's self-contained. I'm still gonna laugh like hell about the whole situation where it's like, oh, hey, we killed the wrong target. Who's the target? The kid. What? Well, okay. Boom. And then they just drop him off back in the living world. You're welcome.
Well, with a monologue.
Yeah. For all the complaining and criticizing we do about Hell of a Boss and Has Been, like, they're very solid. And there just wasn't much of that with, it's okay to make a self-contained story, y'all. It's fine. It's fine. But I guess we do have to talk a little bit about the discourse that happened around this show.
Addressing the elephant in the room, if you will.
Oh boy, okay, so over the weekend, someone asked Dana Terrace if the lead character of the show was trans. And Dana casually answered, maybe a little too blunt and direct, no, the character is not trans. I understand where that thought process comes from. It's just the different names that, like nicknames you call people. And she listed a few of them there. Somehow, the internet responded with vitriolic hate with saying, Dana said that your headcanons don't matter, that trans people don't matter. And it's like, you look at the tweets and what was actually said, nowhere was that said.
And you know, I will say another thing. We talked about this off camera, but what do Vivian Medrano, Dana Terrace, and Rebecca Sugar have in common? And how is Alex Hirsch different? Because I don't remember any of this shit happening when Gravity Falls aired.
No, I wonder what happened. It's such a freaking mystery. I don't know why. It couldn't be because they were women in animation and
they all happen to be queer creators.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened there. That can't possibly be it. Listen, you can be disappointed and frustrated with the fact that there is very little trans representation, whether it's trans feminine or trans masculine representation, that there is very little to none of it in media. That isn't either in anime, where even in anime, it's like a 50-50 toss-up of if it's dated as hell.
Or just OMG, yikes.
Yeah. Or you get the rare success of something like Tokyo Godfathers and such. And it's frustrating. I get it. Especially now where studios are being openly like vitriolic and hateful.
They're being fucking cowards.
Yeah, being cowards about the fact that no, apparently no one can be gay, no one can be queer, non-binary, trans, or anything about the LGBTQA plus community. None of it. Nothing. That sucks. I get it. But nowhere did Dana say that your headcanons didn't matter. She came back and wanted to clear things up because, yeah, maybe she was a little casual with the response and such. But there's also just the notion that you have to say every little thing in one tweet or skeet or whatever, or else it's going to be taken and misinterpreted, or it means you're a bad person. Right, no, she did not say your headcanons didn't matter. She was fine with headcanons. She loves it. She had a self-insert Owl House character who wrote fan fiction. I think anyone who writes fan fiction is pretty okay with headcanons.
And here's like my thing too. Like, I don't want to like go off, but the idea that we're equating Dana Terrace, someone who's made a lot of great strides for like queerness in animation, who is a queer woman herself, works with trans and non-binary people, is somehow like Joanne fuck you Rawling. I'm like, what the fuck? And you know what? Here's like my other thing, and I don't want to like go off too. This is just more based on my personal experiences. The fact that, you know, it's also kind of casually misogynistic because then we're setting up like boundaries for femininity that, oh, if someone's butch, they must be trans. Like, And my own experience is, like, I had, like, numerous instances growing up where I was made fun of for, like, they're like, "Oh," like, I remember I was 5 years old, "Why are you wearing a boy Scooby-Doo shirt?" And I was being upset about it. Or, like, when I was at prom, like, I was so, like, upset at, like, the super, like, feminine dresses, and then eventually I settled on, like, a black cocktail dress, and honestly, like, after that, I don't think I've ever worn a dress since. I've just wore, like, jumpers and suits. So the fact that, you're forcing me saying, "Oh, if you're not a super girly girl, then let's not put labels. Like, let's not put, what it means to be a woman in a box, because that is the exact same shit that turfs do. Like, let's just not even go there."
We live in this entitled era of the internet where fans, like, for better or worse, have a voice through social media. And unfortunately, that means they have a voice through social media. And some of them, like, listen, a bunch of them were just like, okay, whatever. The ones we're calling out are the ones who are like, fuck you, Dana.
Yeah,
You
like a
deserve to
very
die. You're a
vocal,
turf.
annoying. Like,
It's
a
like,
very
no.
vocal minority. Which, by the way, most trans people, like, because I didn't actually know about this controversy till you said it, because I am thankfully not that online anymore. But, like, most of the trans people, like, I saw, they're like, yo, like, what the fuck, guys? Like, that's not what she said.
It's like the pancakes versus waffles meme that goes around. At no point did Dana say anything against headcanons or the trans community. Like, you have to have terrible reading comprehension to get any of that from that response.
But that's the thing, it's like headcanons in general, the problem. This has nothing to do with, like, queerness. It's the fact that, people get upset, like, when their headcanons aren't valid, and they just try to will that upon people that have already spent time and resources creating something in their image. So you're telling someone that they have to change their creative vision to suit your needs, or you're gonna throw, like, a bullfit and, potentially dox them or send death threats. Like, just I don't understand that line of thinking. Like, that is just such an inhumane way. And it kind of goes to the other thing of, like, headcanons and, like, of stories, is that people set up a story, like, a certain way in their heads, and then they get upset when, their worldview or their perception of the story is challenged.
Headcanons are what they are. They're fan-made canons of a pre-existing work. I have my headcanons. Everyone does. Like, everyone does this. How many times do manga creators make some kind of fan work, and then it's like the real creator says, hey, do you want to be a pupil of mine, and then I can help you craft something or help you with, like, what you want to make and such? And it's like, oh, yes, yeah, yes. I mean, like, one of the anime we're going to talk about, the Gachi Akuta, she was a fan of, like, Soul Eater and such, and then she got to work under, I think, the Chainsaw Man guy.
No, I think she actually worked for a Soul Eater guy, because I was actually reading up about it.
Okay, so then, like, and then they were like, you know what? You're cool. You're very creative. You got a cool idea. You put it out there in the world. And Gachi Akuta is, like, one of the best anime of the year because of it, because it's a fully fleshed out idea. Anyway, fandom, like, if you make things, like, do not make art because you want to please a fandom, because then you will end up pleasing no one.
Exactly. Or the best reason to tell any story is just because it's a story you want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not the fans enjoy it, like, that's up to them. But for you, the creator, you have to write the story that you want to tell.
Like, unless you make some kind of major mistake that you want to walk back or retcon, that's fine. But don't do it because a subsection of fans got extremely grumpy with you. So I don't really want to talk anymore about the indie animation scene. It's so exhausting. I know so many people want it to succeed. I want it to do well. I want it to keep building, and so it can be like a profitable, doable alternative instead of just being, you better pray that your thing gets made by Spindle Horse or Glitch Tech. So, or Glitch Tech was another show that I really liked. Oh,
Rip.
Yeah, very interesting pilots. I definitely liked one more than the other, and fandoms are freaking exhausting. So,
amen.
Yep.
So let's talk about a not exhausting side of animation with the anime season. God. Oh god. It's like if John Wick's action never actually stopped in between movies. This summer season was interesting by the end of it, everything, because I think, like, Brie, just for your own context of what Mike and I were going through with this year of anime, we were enjoying the winter and the spring season, but we weren't loving it. We weren't finding a lot of like the energy and love and hype behind new shows that there was with 2023, right. 2024 and such.
Well, I think the problem is just we ate so good, and now when the meal's just kind of plain or whatever, it's like...
That's a fair assessment.
Like, because usually how it goes is the winter and spring seasons are usually pretty good to amazing. Summer season is not as good, but it has experimentation on its side. And then the fall season is where everything caps off to being really, really good. But so far, every season, if I had to give it a 1 out of 5 rating, has been like a 3 out of 5 at best.
I mean, it really says something that the only two shows that I've really been like, man, I gotta watch it, even though I will watch probably most of that list that you gave me was Dawn to Dawn and Panty and Stocking, which those are both returning series, so that kind of says something.
I think one of the big takeaways I want to say is, and by the way, we watched like 30 or so different anime throughout these 3 months. And because of either personal family reasons or just work or just other things coming out that we wanted to focus on. Like, we talked about, like I said, 30 shows. Like, there was Tougen Anki, Gachi Yakuta, Night of the Living Cat, Necronomico and the Cosmic Horror Show, Apocalypse Bringer Mignogthra, Ugly Mug Epic Fighter, The Shy Hero and the Assassin Princesses, Scooped by an S-Rank Adventurer, Secrets of the Silent Witch, Water Magician, Private Tutor of the Duke's Daughter, Omnio Kaiten Rebirth Verse. Blech, got that title. New Saga, Cleavities, City the Animation, Wataru-kun's Bleep is about to collapse, Cultural Exchange of a Game Center Girl, Detectives These Days Are Crazy, Dealing with Mikadono Sisters is a Breeze, Bad Girl, Betrothed to My Sister's Ex, Ruri's Rocks, With You in the Rain, Solo Camping for Two, Welcome to the Outcast Restaurant, See You Tomorrow at the Food Court, Turkey, Time to Strike, The Summer Hikaru Died, Denken no Mogura, The Earthbound Mole, and Hotel Inhumans. That is a lot of shows to go through, but the worst part was the fact that the 2025 summer season had probably the most stacked returning show lineup of any anime season of the past, like, few years.
I would say like at least the last 2.
Because not only did we have Dandadan Season 2, we had My Dress Up Darling Season 2, we had Kaiju Number 8 Season 2, Call of the Night Season 2, Part 2 of Sakamoto Days, more Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus, which is, a continuation of Rascals Do Not Dream of Bunnies. We had more Dr. Stone Science Future, a return to the shitpost world of Grand Blue Dreaming, and the surprise return of Panty and Stocking, and then more The Rise of the Shield Hero, like Season 4 of that thing, I was reincarnated as the seventh prince. For some reason, Rent a Girlfriend is continuing to be good, besides being one of the worst harems of all time.
Regrettably, it's just like a train wreck. You can't look away, and that's what makes it good. Meanwhile, my ass over here is like, I just want a good Yuri that's not a harem or like a trap.
Right. And then there was like a couple of Cuckoos season 2, Reborn as a Vending Machine season 2, which is it's a really dumb show. It is a lot of fun. One of the better isekais, just based off of absurd premises and such. And then there was like a few shows that did not come over here, like April Showers Bring May Flowers and such. So, and then like some revival show like Hell Teacher Jigoku Sensei Nube, and some other ones like Vermat Kitchen and Let's Go Karaoke, or With Vengeance Sincerely Your Broken Saintess, and some other short form shows or just 5-episode series. It was a stacked season. So, oh gosh, like, why should I invest into any new possible unknown show when I have Dandadan Season 2, My Dress Up Darling Season 2, Kaiju number 8, and Call of the Night in one season? It seems like this whole industry, especially this year, has been double down on the sequels, spin-offs, and follow-up seasons. Mm-hmm. And that's not healthy. This is going down the route of what Hollywood is doing with live-action remakes and superhero movies and the near just flood of sequels that are coming out.
It's almost like when some more casual media fans gas up anime as like this like artistic alternative to Hollywood, and like sometimes that's true, but if you guys don't know the industry, it's a lot more corporate than you may think.
Like, arguably, I would say in some respects, it's more corporate than Western animation.
Well, it's like, because it's not just a creator goes to a studio. It's a production committee talks to a creator, gets the rights, tries to bid for one of the higher rated studios like Production IG or Bones, and hope that they can get a good director who is really passionate about the material in question. Because we've seen great manga get turned into bad anime, and bad manga get turned into good anime. Like, yes, anime is willing to do things that American animation is not willing to do, or is not, well, to be fair, not willing to do is not correct. It's mostly what the industry in the US is not willing or allowing to do.
That's more accurate, because in Western animation, certain genres are just, or certain creators even, are just pigeonholed to very specific genres of stories for very specific target audiences.
And it works, unfortunately, for better or for worse. American animation just does not have a variety palette as others do.
Even if we were just talking about Knights of Guinevere and like how a lot of Owl House fans like weren't shutting up, because I'm like, we have to get the mentality of, I'm not saying that 6 to 11 shows can't be deep. However, stuff like anime, that is more like older teen to adult, isn't really a thing, a prominent thing in Western animation right now, which is like absurd because, that's the demographic of a lot of anime. But, you have like people that are kind of like still stuck into like, oh, we have to make these 4-quadrant shows for kids, even though kids don't watch TV. So it's like not a thing here.
Like, the only thing that I remember a producer talking about was that does still make money and is still very successful are preschool shows and or anime. Which then what happens is executives from the US side of the animation industry are like, why should we do anything? Like, why should we invest into a new kind of experimental, ambitious show when we can just license anime and bring it over and then say job's done. So it's frustrating because there are some things that anime is willing to do, or that, well, it's not even willing to do, it's just commonplace. Like, unless you're starting out in anime, a lot of the things that people praise anime for was always extremely common. It's the fact that, like, yes, Japan is willing and able to, say, make a show about a guy who makes little Hina dolls who ends up enraptured into the world of cosplay through the other's main character in My Dress Up Darling.
I mean, that's the beauty of anime, that you can have like this niche hobby or something, and there's probably a show for that.
It's funny because we got a bowling anime, which there are either none or very few that I cannot think about off the top of my head. The problem with anime is that, and listen, I know the manga and anime industry are brutal. They have terrible work conditions, terrible production pipelines, burnout, deaths, and no pay in sight for the people putting in the actual elbow grease to bring these shows to life, or these stories to life. But there are just some writers who are not good, which is a thing in any industry. There are good and bad writers, and it just so happens that there are a lot of bad writers in the anime and manga scene and light novel scene. There's a reason why so many isekais get made, not because that they were good, but because they were placeholder shows to fill the void until they can get another slam dunk of a title, like a bigger IP and such. And when, unfortunately, a lot of the bigger, interesting IP that people really love gets swallowed up by Mappa, Studio Bones, Studio Wit, Cloverworks, Trigger, and Science Saru, there's not a whole lot left for anyone else to get except the B, C, and D grade stuff, unless you're like Studio PA Works, where you can just make whatever you want or take on adaptations that you want. That's where Kyo Annie and Studio Trigger and, to a degree, Science Saru are in right now. They are making their own projects, or they are able to choose and get which anime they want. There was no way anyone else but Mappa was going to get Hell's Paradise. If you have a highly detailed action manga, Mappa or Cloverworks or Wit are going to grab it. I don't want to see One Punch Man go from production IG to JC staff. Oops.
Yeah.
Rip.
And nothing against JC's staff and stuff, but it's like every once in a while they'll put out something good. But also it's the fact that a lot of stories just aren't handled well. Like, there's the Water Mage. It is a great, fun, really solid fantasy anime with likable characters. And it feels like the Ys franchise if we're talking about like fantasy RPGs and such. It's a focus on characters. The power fantasy aspect is wholly unique and distinct. And the other side characters get to actually do stuff and save the day when it's not the main character. The problem is, it felt like it needed to be an isekai for some reason. It's like, no, you did not need to be an isekai. It's like, don't do it just because it's popular. And apparently, isekai is just extremely popular over here in the States. And that's a problem when nobody can just get over having like power fantasies and isekais in their daily rotation. When most of them suck, they're badly animated, they have the same characters, and there's just nothing interesting about them unless you get maybe a director who knows what they're doing or has some incredibly striking directing or direction for the show to go into. Like, I remember Mike and I talked about a show, like an isekai, that had shockingly good comedic timing and animation, only for the story to be about these two siblings. The brother gets isekai'd, and he thinks he's the chosen hero, but he's not. His sister gets warped into the fantasy world, has all the powers and such. And it leads to a lot of good comedy, but it also leads to a lot of weird bro cis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like Togen Anki. Boy, I feel bad being a shonen type show when Gachiakuta and Dandadan are in this season, because Togen Anki is like a perfectly palatable mid 2000s edgelord shonen anime where, oh, the Momotaro from, like, it's all based around the Momotaro versus the Oni story, but the Momotaro people are the bad guys. The Oni are the good guys. All their weapons and powers are blood based. Every woman has, at the very least, like double D like figures and such.
Double D B-52 bombers, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like everyone gives Oda from One Piece shit for his character designs, but at least he's honest.
This is almost inexcusable in terms of like the lack of variety of character designs, and the designs themselves are not bad. It is just a bit one note.
It's like, are you a woman in this show? You better not be unless you want to have back-breaking boobs. And it's just such edgelord stuff. It's not even animated well because, again, not every studio can be Science Saru and just make some of the most amazing animation with Dandadan and such, with its shot composition. Or like Ugly Mug Epic Fighter. That show bugs the daylights out of me because there's a good core idea with it. A guy who was, if we had to give a rating, a 5 or 6 out of 10 in terms of good looks, in terms of anime good looks. And then to get isekai'd, he's like, you know what? I'll get a bunch of bonus stats and powers if I make myself ugly as sin, while my isekai friends get warped into the world also, but take the more traditional anime approach to designs. And listen, it's not openly misogynistic, but it is very subtly still very misogynistic with how the characters are written. Even though the main character himself, even though he looks ugly as sin, is actually like a pretty good dude. It's just the whole show is not written well enough to play off of more than just fat jokes and the women aren't good fighters and such. There's just a lot of ideas like that this season where there's like a core idea of interesting characters going through some promising arcs of self-discovery or healing, and then they just drop the ball. I think like stuff like culture exchange with a game center girl, which is meant to be this like cool, cute friendship between a game center employee and a foreign person coming to the game center and not understanding things, but it turns into a age gap rom-com where the girl falls in love with the guy, though the girl is like 13 and the guy is in his mid-20s. Solo camping for 2. I thought this was like, when I saw the poster, I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of cute. A couple's going camping and such. No. No. Old man, a guy in his 30s wants to go solo camping because he loves the experience of it. A young woman in her 20s comes rolling on in and threatens our lead character with false rape accusations unless he takes her camping with him. There was a lot of that this season. Like,
oh dear.
Like, and she is so unlikable as a character. It's meant to be played off as comedy, but it's not funny. It's like some of these like there's a reason why
like you could tell that an incel wrote it.
It honestly does feel that way.
Because then it's like, why should I care about these two characters? This woman forced her way into a situation because of her idiocy. And I'm not trying to be like, haha, woman dumb. No, the show is written in a way where she is as hopeless and as dumb as a bag of hammers. Or there are just shows this season that just, they have an idea, they're going to be adequately okay with how it's executed, and that's it. But it's also like, this feels like a filler show, even if the show itself is well animated and actually pretty funny and such. A lot of female romance anime came out this season, like a lot of girl love, some Yuri. And I like some of the premises. Bad Girl has a really good gimmick of the main character wants to get like the student council president character to notice her and be either romantically interested or just friends. And she's like, well, you know what? She's the head of the disciplinary committee. I'm going to be a bad girl. And it just reminds me of that Owl House joke where Luz and King like get the guards' attention and then they just step on some grass where it says do not step on grass.
That's a perfect comparison.
Because that's like the extent of her, like, my schemes and such. And it doesn't work, but she finds, like, the other lead just finds her appealing because of just how try-hard she is and cute she is. Or, like, Night of the Living Cat, which is basically replace zombies, but with cute, adorable cats. And if you get touched by a cat, scratched by a cat, you pet a cat, you turn into a cat. And not into a weird humanoid cat, like a normal house cat.
We were talking earlier about how the best parodies are made with love. I would honestly say that about Night of the Living Cat. Like, it's not like exactly parodying Night of the Living Dead. It's more just like a pastiche, but still the fact that the characters are playing the situation as straight as possible, but the situation is just like batshit insane makes this very entertaining.
Even if it's not animated well, which is kind of what bummed me out about it. Like, it doesn't look great, but it is funny enough of how dead serious everyone is.
I can give like shows that are meant to be comedic a pass when the animation is of lesser quality. Sometimes when a comedy is animated too well, it kind of takes away from the humor.
Like examples of shows that are like not fully there, but they have a good idea. The Shy Hero and the Assassin's Princesses. I like the idea of the show itself. 3 princesses who are actually assassins from like either a assassin's guild, is the daughter of the demon lord, and one is just a dominatrix. Try to kill the chosen hero. And the whole thing about the chosen hero is, even though he can kill things in one punch, is super strong and resilient, he has 0 social skills. He has an idea of what he wants to do and how he wants the scenario to play out. But then when he actually goes and does it, he is a shivering, nervous wreck. And it's funny because the other fact is that the princesses keep trying to kill him, but then realize, shit, he's like invincible. So I guess we'll just keep trying for some reason. And it's like, they kind of solve that issue, but making them kind of like bond as friends and such. But it's also like, no, it's not funny enough. It's not creative enough to go the distance.
They do the thing that you and I harp on, is they don't commit to the bit. They kind of seem to give up on like committing to the one trick pony after like the first episode.
Some of the shows, like the best shows of this season, commit to the bit. And that's the thing about it. Like, I guess like a lesser example of like one of the better shows of the season, Ruri Rocks. Well, despite having a very annoying lead character and some of the best and worst aspects of Studio Binds' animation, where you will get amazing, fluid, beautifully rendered animation, but also everyone working there are like some of the biggest freaks and perverts working in the industry. And I don't mean that in like the bad side. It's just like, people are like, yeah, we know that we're being pervy and horny on main, but
I'm like hell yeah. I mean, people need to be slut-shamed less. I'm like, more being horny on main. Be little freaks, you guys. You go.
Just don't back out of it. Like, don't... Like, that's really the big problem with anime, is when it wants to be horny, but then it's like, oh, but we got to be dead serious also. And it's like, no.
It's like that one commercial, for the tacos. It's like, why not both?
Like, a good example of one that, like, hits the ground running, dealing with the Mikadono sisters is a breeze. Our main character is the exact opposite of a Nepo child, where he has none of the talents and abilities of his late famous mom, though, the way people think about that is like, that's some eugenics sounding nonsense, man. But ends up taking care of and looking over these 3 classmates of his who happen to be like the 3 most popular tomboy girls at the school, who are everything that he is not, but for the life of them cannot function in society. And the main character calls him out on it, but in a way that's funny, endearing, and makes every character likable. It just works. It's not different from a lot of harem that have come out, but it's refreshing when it's just people having fun with a solid premise and good characters. Why is that so hard?
Right?
It's so... Well, it's the problem that the Dandadan creator went through. So many creatives and so many shows get greenlit to be like, oh, we'll get this crowd easy. No, you won't. You don't know you will. Don't have some assumption that you're going to have like 5 seasons. You're not My Hero Academia or Chainsaw Man or Jujutsu Kaisen. You're like some third-rate light novel that may have a good gimmick, but if the execution isn't there, who cares? For all the faults that Apocalypse Bringer Myangra has, at least it's a, like, rebuild the kingdom isekai and not a power isekai, even though it does have its harem elements. So...
Like, I think the problem is that the power isekai is just... It's like the least interesting version of that you could possibly do, and it's just... The market is like so oversaturated with it.
And I understand like some of these wanting to be like, hey, if you feel like an outcast, go find some friends and such, like welcome to the outcast restaurant. But then with that show, it's very like harem-y. All the characters are like really young girls for some reason, while our main character is like 35. And it's like, no. The best shows of this season, or at least the better shows of this season, went out of their way to be different. Like, with You in the Rain, it has one joke, but they run with that joke about a young woman in her late 20s, early 30s.
I think they really specify her age.
Adopts a dog. Quick problem. That one dog is a tanuki. And writes on little letters saying, yes, I am a dog, please pet me, and such. And no one thinks otherwise, that it's not a dog.
it reminds me so much of the Chicken Boo sketches from Animaniacs, but kind of the opposite, where nobody points out that you is a tanuki. They just assume, oh yeah, no, it's a dog. Of course it's a dog.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be? It doesn't look like any dog I've seen, but it's a dog, all right. And it's so charming and delightful, but it also goes beyond its premise because yes, having all the jokes be people reacting to the fact that it's not a dog, but they think it's a dog. But then, like, it's about a young woman who is complacent in life about what she wants to do and is like alone in the world and like has some kind of issues and hiccups with her relationship with her parents. It's so compelling when it has such an absurd premise. Let's just say what one of the best shows of the season is, Gachiakuta, which is so funny because it's a show about social class commentary and how everything, like, we are ruining the world by making things extremely disposable. But if someone asked, is it trash, and not in a, is it bad trash? Like, is it trashy? What if it is trash? The answer is a unanimous yes.
Yes.
It is the most punk rock, diesel punk kind of show that runs with its premise, where all the characters gain abilities from items and trash that were tossed like into this large pit. It's not even like there's a poor side and then a rich side. There is, but then there's like, you think there's rock bottom, but there's a rock bottom below the rock bottom. It's all about just connection, about people, a focus on characters. Yes, there is a female character who is partially inspired by anorexic designs and such, but she is one of the most badass characters in the show. And all the characters are likable. It has its own distinct identity. It's why I really love Dorohedoro, because it's just diesel punk magic world.
It also has one of the best lines. I think it's in the second episode where Rudo basically says, like, running down all the different labels of the different factions, and he just says, like, you guys just make up labels to find reasons to hate. And man, that line goes so hard.
Or just being a good romance is what's enough. Like with the fragrant flowers bloom with dignity. It's just like two different students go to two different schools that are right next to each other. It's very Romeo and Juliet, very West Side Story in its setup. But the characters are so lovable and enjoyable. And of course, Cloverworks' amazing animation helps things. But it's just like two characters who feel isolated in their worlds, finding connection with one another. It's super appealing. Or, you know, if you want to watch a scary anime this year, which is always a grab bag of like, oh, I don't think it's going to be good because it's a horror anime and so many of those are just not good. The Summer Hikaru Died is one of the most haunting anime to have come to life in the anime year of 2025.
The visuals alone in that first episode will be burned into your brain for a while.
And it's so atmospheric, and there's so much at stake and nuance within the world, because I don't want to spoil for you, Bree, what exactly happens in this. The moment you find out, with it, which is like maybe 5 or 10 minutes into the episode, you understand what's going on and just the unease and tension between our two main characters. It is so captivating, and it's so hard to make a good horror anime because you have to have the budget, the time, and the talent to make it all come true. And unfortunately, not every horror anime gets that. Even when you're like Junji Ito, he cannot for the life of him get an adaptation that actually is good. Or like The Secrets of the Silent Witch. It's just a fun fantasy show. The characters are all lovable, expressive, funny, and the action is top notch. It's not an isekai. It's
everything you want in a good fantasy show. It just fires on all cylinders.
Exactly. Or like Cleavities, where you get weary about dark fantasy shows because they all want to be Berserk, but it cannot be Berserk because we already have a Berserk. And then Cleavities finds a way, even though if it still falters with some of its anime nonsense, to be compelling. It's character focused. It's not just we live in a nihilistic world so everyone sucks. No, it's a demon lord posing as a human, taking care of a child, and bringing back a soldier that he killed to life to find out why humans deserve to live. It becomes a very character-based journey as our demon lord figures out the pros and cons and warts and all of humanity. Even though it does things like, there's this one character that's introduced early on in the show who plays the wet nurse, or because neither our main character or our co-lead can produce milk, but it was kind of cool at first because she didn't have a traditional anime design. She was kind of like short, plump, but her character was likable and lovable, and you did not want her to get hurt. Unfortunately, she does, and then the Demon Lord's like, well, I'm going to revive you because we need someone to help take care of this baby that we're taking care of. And then they give her like such a traditional anime design, and it's like, God damn it. It's like when any anime, like in the what is it, Mike? The what's the one show that sounded like a villainous anime but wasn't? Betrothed to My Sister's Ex.
There we go.
And anytime an anime character says, like, oh, I'm so ugly, unless you are designed to be unappealing to look at, the worst you can be in an anime is like an 8 out of 10. It's like the line from Buñuel and the Labyrinth of the Turtles. There's no such thing as a 6 in France. But even like Betrothed to My Sister's Ex is just a good romance story with our two leads being incredibly lovable and sympathetic. And you think it's like, oh boy, this guy's going to be a duke at one time and he's going to be really mean, but he's also just extremely himbo-y. Like when they get to the castle, he's yelling at someone and he's just like, okay, who is here? And he looks over and sees the main character that he saw so long ago. And he's just like, he feels so embarrassed about yelling at her. And he's just like, oh my God, I look like a jackass right now. Please excuse me. I'm going to go undo myself in my room for embarrassing myself in front of her, in front of the girl I had a crush on. And yet all the other characters are super fun and lovable. So glad it's not a villainous show. Like, God dang it, man.
Same. In my notes, welcome the 2 newest inductees to the Anime Parent Hall of Infamy. Like, seriously, the parents in this are just absolute garbage.
And you think like the Duke's mom is going to be like, oh boy, here we go. And she's like lovable, adorable, and just the sweetest woman ever. It's like, oh my God, our main character gets a second chance at life with people who will not treat her like garbage. What are some other shows that like you were impressed by?
The one that I kind of took a liking to, it's probably not like the best, but I got a kick out of Omnio Chitin Rebirth Verse just because, yes, it's an isekai, but it's an isekai that's doing something a little bit off kilter by introducing time travel, but kind of more in the Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow fashion. And if this was something that premiered on Toonami when I was growing up, it would probably be like one of the shows that I just love as much as Gurren Lagann or Yu Hakusho. The characters are all well defined. Again, kind of more like it's both a classic style shonen show, but doing more interesting things than your standard isekai power fantasy.
I know a show that you were also fond of was the Detectives These Days Are Crazy.
Just in general, looking back at my notes, the comedies this season really brought it.
There's No Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless. It's another very Yuri girl romance show, which is oddly enough.
Which, by the way, I've actually kind of watched that one. It is like full trash. Like, it's surprisingly, like, it does address some of like the more toxic tropes. Like, it's like self-aware, but it's like such a harem. Like, let me tell you, the lead, she gets bitches.
Yeah. That's the thing with a lot of the Yuri stuff this season is that, like, I don't want to have a harem of bitches. I'm not here. I'm here to be maidenless if we're going Elden Ring on this thing. The cosmic universe is just like, nah, we're going to give you some bitches.
Oh, which, you know what? I just want, like, I don't mind that because I'm like, for all, like, the male harems we've had to deal with, I'm like, you know what?
Fine,
give something for the ladies. But I'm like, on a serious note, I am kind of looking for, you know, the next Bloom Into You, or better yet, you know, let In Bloom To You finish.
Exactly. Or like City the Animation, the one new show that KyoAni is putting out that wasn't Dragon Maid or whatever it was called, show like for a while because like after the arson incident, it was basically
you talking about Kobayashi?
Yeah, Kobayashi. Yes, thank you. It's like after the arson incident, KyoAni was basically pumping out sequels left and right to their previous work. And City the Animation, which is made by the same person who what was it he did? It's by the manga author of, if you've seen that gif or meme of a guy like wrestling a deer and like power smashing it into the ground.
Nichijou?
Yeah, that. It's basically a spiritual successor to that show. And golly, when the animation hit this season, it looked amazing. And of course, it's KyoAni. It's going to look amazing, just like Science Saru and Cloverworks. But there is something wholly distinct about City the Animation's animation. It is vibrant. The colors pop. Like, it doesn't fall into a lot of the same traps that most anime fall into, where they have to make some compromise to make the production pipeline work. No, City the Animation, because it's KyoAni, can just make really polished animation at all times. There's no like, oh, well, a bunch of characters are standing around this whole time. That means they're saving the budget for fight scenes or whatever, or really big comedic moments and such. It's just, anime is such a mixed bag, and the fact that this year is like focusing way too much on returning shows, it makes it hard for newer shows to stand out. Like, I loved Don. I finished that whole second season. It was amazing.
Oh, so good.
Just wonderful.
Incredible. 10 out of 10.
I am getting super close to finishing Panty and Stocking New, and it is, dare I say, better than the original season.
It really
even
is.
Even if it is still as uncompromising and raunchy in just a better way.
It feels more polished. Because the original Panty and Stocking I love, but this was literally like the last breath of Gainax. This feels like the vision that they always had. They have the people, the budget, and maybe just a little bit more emotional maturity while still being Panty and Stocking.
It is hilarious, though, to, like, one of my favorite jokes of this overall season is in one of the Panty and Stocking episodes where they are with, what was his name? Psycho Cop or something?
Inferno Cop.
Yeah, Inferno Cop. And they're in the jail cell where they have the internet, like, locked up. And the internet's like, ha 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 ha, in like full Hannibal Lecter get up. It's like, you will not find the true villain of this situation here. Inferno Cop is like, quick, Panty and Stocking. We must go like find the true villain using the internet. Right. And then they pick up the internet physically.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, wait a minute, bam! Just break down the wall where the villain actually is.
Right. Like, my favorite one is the whole tribute to Jack Kirby and like the Kirby crackle.
Oh god, that whole segment was incredible. Or like the Conan the Barbarian homage to like late 80s, early 90s fantasy
like weird. The weird thing is like this season's been kind of like gayer. Like, I think they're kind of implying that Panty is bi, which I'm like, oh, that's an interesting development.
Well, it's also like equal opportunity now, especially when they got the two male angel characters, and
the twinks.
Yeah, the twinks. Especially with that whole sequence, like, episode.
Oh my god, I love that. I clapped, and then they had the money raining down. I'm like, and it's like this NSYNC Backstreet Boys ass track in the background.
It is, and if you think the ladies, including the two demon sisters, are the only ones who do the, like, stripping, sexy weapon thing, oh no, the twinks do it too. And
you know what? And the one thing that I've noticed is that, even though the vulgarity's still there, is that they haven't been doing the transformation sequences as much. like, I feel like they're trying to, like, change up the formula, too.
No, that's absolutely something they're doing with that show, and where it's keeping the raunchiness and the vulgarity there, especially with that whole parody sequence of Alien and The Thing, but it doesn't feel as edgy and try hard. I love the original season, don't get me wrong, but this one is much more fun to sit through than the other one, even if at some points it's like, man, this shit post humor is kind of exhausting at points. Which is kind of like why I didn't fully love the detectives these days are crazy, even though I love our female leads gremlin shit posting expressive animation here, and how so many of the characters are willing to just have the goofiest looking faces at points. It is like compelling, but it's also like there's not much to it. At least with something like Panty and Stocking, it's either the shit posting humor is fresh and interesting, or they have
like the animation is like so fluid too. Like honestly, like it's kind of crazy, like how this looks so like undifferentiated from like Western animation.
no, it looks great. Like even
this
if they
made. I mean, this might be hyperbole, but I think this is maybe where Trigger has like peaked with like animation. Like everything about it is so polished and clean.
I mean, especially with their work, like recent work of stuff like Delicious in Dungeon and such, I think they've truly hit their stride. Where, like, and I say that with Science Saru. Like, all the dynamic action sequences, and like, even the small moments are super well animated because the characters are so goofy and weird. Especially with the episode when we get the special guest star of Dragon Force like singer coming in.
Oh my god, I love
God,
that.
When I heard that he was in the dub, I was just so happy.
And you know the one thing I love about like Don Da Don that I wish more anime did is thank you for actually dubbing the music and not just randomly singing in Japanese for no reason.
Netflix releases do that sometimes where they'll either have them singing in English or they will be singing in Japanese, even though if everything else is in English. And it's like, okay, whatever.
You know what, like one like old OG dub that really annoyed me that did it was when Kaye got dubbed. And they had like Christina V, who at like that point, like she was like the anime cover artist YouTuber. And they never had her sing.
Aw, that's disappointing.
That's weird. Don't do that to us, man.
Well, to me, it's like weird because like if you get like a Disney film or anywhere else, like they like dub the music and so like they localize it. So when they do it, it's so distracting and I hate it.
I think one of the better examples, and granted this is a movie, so of course they'll put more resources into it. The English dub for Belle, it was really good because they found an actress who obviously can act, but has a really great singing voice.
And then, like, counterpoint for movie, piece film, Red. I love Otto. I think she's amazing. But for the dub, they got Ama Lee, who can hit the same notes as Otto, but they kept the songs in Japanese.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, but I'm sorry, I did download the Japanese soundtrack for it, so. And they do that with, like, I think Inuo also, where everything's in English, but they keep the songs untranslated.
Don Da Don had no issues, so I'm like, but Don Da Don was probably a union dub, but like, I don't know.
I will say I did love Bryce Papenbrook coming into the cast as.
Oh my god, he's so good, and it's like I knew it was Bryce, but I was talking to my friend. He was like, "Wait, that's Bryce?" Like, it doesn't really sound like him unless you're like really listening.
It's kind of like he did like a deeper, like this kind of voice for his line work in Demon Slayer as Inosuke, because like Inosuke's like this, like yeah. So he just like lowered the tone and then shoved it into this character who, because my friend and I have been watching it and we just can't help but laugh at that one scene when this character's introduced. It's like 10-gallon wiener. Oh my god, we gotta find a time to talk about Dandadan for a whole episode.
Yes.
Oh please, I will be there.
Some of the line reads, just like with this show, I swear, like Turbo Granny being voiced by Rita Repulsa.
Well, the reason it's so good is Alex Von David did the dub, and Alex Von David is amazing. He did the Kill la Kill dub years ago.
That explains everything.
Literally a show made by a manga author who was told, don't think about it too hard, and said, okay, I'm going to talk about this show. It's going to have shoujo elements, but it's also going to be about aliens and cryptids and kaiju.
And it's also going to be like, Ultraman fanboyism. Like,
oh god, all the Ultraman references I spotted.
Ultraman,
did you spot
I misspoke.
Like the kaiju thing? It's just like, that's Red King mixed with a little Naronga.
Yeah, I love how half of this is just like an Ultraman AU. That's so
absolutely.
much a man.
Well, we'll talk about this when we talk about Dandadan. The aliens are like a mix of like multiple Ultraman references, like Data, Bolton Sagen, and among others. So again, we're getting off track.
Is a case study of just like let nerds fucking make shit.
Just let nerds make stuff and then tell them not to get hampered down by remember to focus on characters. But anyway,
yeah, please don't do Ready Player One, please.
Yeah, please. The season turned out to be a little better than I expected, but it was so exhausting. It was like one of the few times I ever felt burned out by watching anime, because I was just like, 70% of these shows weren't doing the legwork or were just made to be filler. If you're just going to make something to be filler, just don't make it. Just put your investment in the long term for something that you do want to put your animation talent on. Like, don't do Mappa. Like, for the love of God, don't do Mappa. But it's like, I feel like there's a reason why there's just Science Saru, Wit, Production IG, Mappa, and Cloverworks. It's like, in KyoAni, there's like 7 studios, and there's a reason why they're still on top, even if some of them, again, like Mappa, are fucking up in so many other horrifying ways. So.
Yeah. Probably not as much now, but I guess to a lesser extent, Poirot too.
Yeah. So if I had to pick 5 anime from this season, and really it is just 5 anime from this season, and not counting returning ones, because then that would just be My Dress Up Darling and Dandadan taking 2 different spots, and that's not fair for the other show, like the newer shows. Gachi Okuta, The Summer Hikaru Died, The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Yeah, I would say like Secrets of the Silent Witch. And I'm going to say Dealing with Mikadono's Sisters is a breeze, with a honorable mention going to City the Animation.
For my 5, I'm going to go with Gachakuda, obviously. I might throw Night of the Living Cat on there. Secrets of the Silent Witch, City the Animation, Clevitas.
I would have put Clevitas in my top 5 if it just didn't try anime one of the few slightly heavyset characters of the season. It's like,
oh, that would take it off the list. But one more I think should be an honorable mention is With You and the Rain.
Oh shoot, I forgot to put that on. Yeah, no, that's definitely in my top 5. I you know what? There are more than 5 this season that I would put down, but oh yeah, With You in the Rain. Yeah, I'd put that in my top 5 instead of whatever show I put in number 5.
We will talk more in depth about Gachakuda and The Summer Hikaru Died, because there is a lot to talk about in both of these.
So next time we're going to be talking about the extremely hyped, for me at least, 100 Meters movie directed by the guy who did Angaku Our Sound, and the long awaited premiere of Angel's Egg, the Mamoru Oshii cult favorite that basically was never going to come out to the US and finally did. Yeah, that'll be it for this episode.
Until next time, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
Well, if you wish to seek me out and my spiciest takes that I may or may not post because I'm not stupid, you could find me at crazylemur.bsky.social, and I'm also on Instagram at lemurs1 where I'm posting doggo pics, so if you like that, follow me.
And Cameron?
You can find me on Blue Sky at camsiview.biz. I do have Twitter for some reason, but I don't really post there unless it's like a review or something. I have a website called camsiview.biz where I review animated films from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also am a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for pop culture and media discourse. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsiview. That's where you can find me and a bunch of my upcoming live action quick reviews from Fantastic Fest.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.